Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. My name is Diamond Franson, and I am the Digital Marketing Project Manager for ICND. I have a great presenter joining me today, Holly McRee, one of our digital marketing specialists here in this office. We are going to talk about the OTA squeeze versus the book direct advantage. Holly has joined our team recently, and she wants to share her knowledge of working in a VRM for many, many years. But before I introduce Holly and before we get into today's topic, I just want to talk a little bit about ICND. And if you're new to us or if you're not a current client, now's a great time to hear what we have to say and maybe consider bringing us into your company for your digital marketing and website needs. So why should you choose ICND? We're number one in the industry. This is a great day that Holly and I are doing this presentation because we just won the VRMA Supplier of the Year over in Vegas. So yes, applause all around. Again, reinforcing we are the number one in the vacation rental industry for website design and digital marketing. We have solutions for every stage, whether you're just beginning, whether you're rolling up, if you're enterprise signature, wherever you are in your journey, we have a solution for you. Definitely scalable, definitely future proof, custom designs that converts your lookers into bookers. Other reason to choose ICND, we have integrations with many, many of the most popular PMSs. We have conversion focused tools, fast, transparent, supportive support lines, and people that will help you achieve your goals. And we are just not providers, we are trusted partners in the industry since 1999. We just recently celebrated our 25th anniversary, and we have empowered over 600 property managers with smarter, high performing websites and digital strategies. So, enough about us. I want to talk about Holly and all the great things she brings to the table.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Diamond.
No
So
problems. So,
nice
Holly,
to meet everybody.
yes, yes. 15 years in the industry. You entered vacation rentals, the industry in 2018. I know you were telling me in the early days you were just buried in Airbnb listings and sync issues. You had to find a
Yeah.
way to get out from underneath that and find a way to make the website that you were working on faster, smarter, and very with very high conversions. You have some great results here that you share with me 30% in direct bookings and growth,
Yeah.
and you attracted new owners. And I think that's part of it. Yes, you have a great website, it converts, you have great digital marketing, but you have to satisfy your owners' needs and you have to want those owners to book with you. So, with all that said, and all of that out of the way, I really want to dive into this topic with you today. Want you to share your knowledge, and we'll see if we have questions along the way. If you are tuning in to watch this episode of our Insights webinar, please leave a question in the comments, or you can reach out to Holly directly, and we'll give you information on how to do that as well. All right, Holly, I'm
Yeah,
turning the floor over to
absolutely.
you.
All right. Well, thank you for the introduction.
No problem.
Today we're going to look at what, OTA dependency really costs, and not just in commissions, but in competition, staff time, control. We'll also talk about why guests love OTAs so much, and then kind of shift into the advantages of focusing those efforts on your direct booking website and marketing. By the end, you'll have kind of a clearer picture of why direct bookings are the smarter, more sustainable path. And I've seen firsthand how much those costs add up, not just in money, but in time and control as well. Um, so number one, OTAs are still a really great solution for getting bookings. They help fill calendars and they do serve a purpose. But the problem comes when they become your main solution. And that's when the squeeze really sets in. So commissions kind of eat into margins, and competition makes it hard to stand out. Rules shift constantly, and payroll hours are wasted on listing management, and you lose access to guest data and relationships. So relying too heavily on OTAs, they leave you vulnerable, and that's where the real squeeze happens.
So you mentioned that yes, they are still important. Like we here at ICND, we're all about that direct booking website. We're trying to give people their independence away from OTAs. But if you're saying
Yeah.
that OTAs are still important, how do we know when we're relying on them too much if they're still part of that equation?
So when you're not tracking where your bookings are coming from, or when most of your staff time is spent maintaining those OTA listings instead of your own website, 70 to 80% of your revenue is OTA driven, then that's typically when you're kind of at risk. So it's really about balance. And OTAs are great for visibility, filling calendars also whenever you need to fill them, they're not filling up on your website. But your goal should be to shift more control and more bookings to your own website over time.
Right. That sounds great. Good to know.
Yeah. Because I mean, when you like, here's a good example. Whenever you step back and kind of look at the numbers, it's kind of staggering because Airbnb alone has over 8 million listings worldwide. And the moment a guest searches, they're scrolling through thousands of options at once. And in that kind of environment, standing out becomes almost impossible, especially if you're competing head to head on price, photos, reviews. It's not that your property isn't great, it's just that it's buried in an ocean of possibilities and options, basically. So,
So 8 million listings. That's crazy. So with all these
yeah,
millions and millions of listings, is it even possible or even feasible for a small property managers, say 50 under, 100 under, to even compete with these large, robust platforms?
yeah. I mean, it's tough, especially when you're up against like individual owners who can kind of price how they want to or skip out on the fees. Competing on OTAs isn't the best play. Compete off of them. So ranking locally in search, building your brand, and giving guests a reason to come directly to you, that's where you're going to stand out.
Awesome. Yeah, I like what you just said there. Not compete against them or compete with them. That's really seemed to
Compete off of them.
compete
So don't
off of them.
compete
Yeah,
with them. Yeah, don't
compete.
compete with
Okay.
them on Airbnb. Compete with
Okay.
them off Airbnb and go to Google and compete with them there.
That's a
Because
good way to say it. Compete off of them. Awesome. Yeah.
yeah, yep, for sure. So guess I mean they love OTAs though, and there's a reason for it. And it's because they're fast, mobile friendly, full of reviews, and everything feels easy. But while that experience is smooth for guests, it kind of creates some chaos behind the scenes. So let's talk about what that looks like for property managers. Let's see here. All right. So this is kind of where the sync battle starts coming into play.
Okay.
Um, this was kind of one of my biggest daily challenges, and I'm not going to be the only one that's struggled with this. It's the never-ending sync battle. And some PMS platforms, they sync directly with the OTAs. Some don't. And if they don't, then your options are channel managers or manual management. And with a channel manager, you have full sync, which only pushes what it has, and limited sync pushes the basics on the first push and then only continuously syncs pricing and availability. And after that, it's all on you. But the truth is, like, no platform fills out every single Airbnb or OTA field. It hasn't happened yet. And that matters because algorithms reward complete listings. And so with new fields popping up constantly that you have to fill in, keeping up is nearly impossible.
And
You're
and I,
constantly chasing updates.
yeah, and I can definitely understand a little bit better now how you're saying new fields appear, over time. And that goes back to taking away from your payroll budget or your time budget or your team's bandwidth itself in order to keep up, because I'm guessing that those additional fields would have to be like gone back into all the time. So,
Yeah.
how do you know whether to choose a full sync or a limited sync with a channel manager?
So kind of it depends on your size and your bandwidth of the company. So if you have a smaller portfolio, limited sync gives you more control
Hmm.
and higher listing quality because you can manually fill in all the details and you're not spending a ton of time because you have a smaller portfolio. But larger ones need a full sync for really efficiency. But if you're going to do that, you have to accept that you're going to sacrifice some listing completeness. And so the key really is to work with your channel manager to push as much data through the API as possible.
So we have a lot of partners. ICND has a lot of partners in the industry. So are there any specific channel managers or PMS systems that do a better job with Airbnb syncs than others? And I'm not going
Um,
to hold you to it. I know we have a lot of partners, and I know we have a lot of people that we might want to mention at this point. And so I don't want you to, play favorites, but is there one your experience that you've had some time with that maybe works a little bit better than others?
yeah, I'm gonna be completely honest. I've researched this a lot. I've done a lot of demos. And the truth is, none of them are perfect. And it's going to be difficult for any of them to ever be perfect. And it's because Airbnb keeps evolving its data structure. Some platforms do work more closely with channel managers to improve their API calls. But I always suggest choosing a PMS or channel manager that specializes in their development and has open relationships with their partners. So always look at their integration ecosystem first. That's step one that you always want to do.
Okay. That sounds
Yeah.
good too on the ICND side because our development team is they're always pushing out new updates. They're
Oh my
always
God.
they're always making new things, more tools, more modules. So
Yeah, they are.
I can definitely appreciate the work with a company that has a good infrastructure and is always aggressively updating because that kind of
Yep.
speaks my language there. Okay.
Yeah. So when most people think about OTAs, they think about commission fees and those cut into margins, but some of the real cost goes kind of much deeper. So you've got payroll, you've got staff hours managing listings, fixing sync issues, and then re-entering the data, and then competition, and then individual homeowners that can cut, rates and fees, and that makes it really hard for managers to compete fairly.
That's a lot.
There's
You just
also
named off a
it's
lot of stuff.
I know it is so much. And not only that, there's the tax side. And this is something that's not talked about enough. The tax side, sometimes OTAs collect them and sometimes they don't. So Airbnb, they might collect a state, but not a county or vice versa. And if that's set up wrong, it can really turn into a real headache. And it really is kind of a pain to manage. And so when you look at kind of everything together, all of that, it's very hard to make that sustainable long term. And not just sustainable long term, but putting all your eggs in that basket is just not smart.
So
It's just too much.
it sounds like, I mean, you just named off a bunch of things that you have to kind of, figure into your actual cost. So what is your advice? How do you advise vacation rental managers to calculate the real cost of OTAs and their dependency on OTAs?
So what we did was you start by adding up the commissions, like what you're paying in commissions. And again, that can be different by the company, how you want to collect those commissions or charge. Staff hours and missed opportunities. So if your team spends like say 20 hours a week managing your OTA listings and you're paying them an average of $25 an hour, that alone is $2,000 a month. Just in time alone. So you add up the
Right.
commissions on top of that, you could be losing, and hidden costs kind of become clear. And that's money you could be reinvesting in your SEO or automation that keeps paying off rather than just a nonstop monthly cost.
Right. Yeah, because it's never going to end. There's always going to be something new
Always.
that's getting pushed out that has to be in compliance or looked at or double checked. So
Yeah,
wow, lots to take into
absolutely.
consideration. Awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Um, and then the other aspect of it is OTA rules. So I know October 1st, Airbnb just had a rule change with their cancellation policies. And so when you think you got it all figured out, the rules change again. So they're evolving constantly. And they really are kind of a guest first by design. And that builds trust for travelers, which is great, but it leaves managers adapting to changes that aren't always in their control. And so even more important to build stability in what you can control.
So how does a vacation rental manager, how can they stay ahead of all these changes? Because I mean, I see what you have here, and, listing suspensions, cancellations, in this, like constant evolution. Like these are all changes. I mean, this is literally, it could be like a full-time job for like more than one person, right? So how does,
Yeah.
especially when you have small teams in house, you're really stretching the team thin. So, how
Yeah.
can a vacation rental manager stay ahead of these policy changes before they even affect them?
So I would subscribe to every OTA blog or host newsletter that you can find, especially like for Airbnb. Airbnb's host updates, and then schedule quarterly or monthly check-ins with your channel manager or your OTA reps. Um, and this one was actually a surprising one for me to learn. Stay active in industry groups or attend webinars like this one, because the best insights usually come from peers who've already dealt with the change. And so, keeping up with those industry relationships is critical.
I have to give a shameless plug for our digital marketing team because we do meet with our clients on a monthly basis, both on a webinar or Zoom or, and email as well. So I must say we're beating them on that. Instead of quarterly check-ins, we're doing monthly
Yeah.
check-ins. I have to give a shameless plug for our team there. But cool. No, that's good to know, because like yeah, you're right. Not everyone is 100% OTA focused, and not everyone is 100% book direct focused. Sometimes
Yeah.
they have to use a mix, right, to either satisfy owners or satisfy the area because you have a lot of competition in the area. So if you are in that boat where you're doing a little bit of both, then that's a good way to stay up on trends and update. This picture, by the way, this is amazing. But go ahead, go ahead.
So so this is my Einstein pig. Um and or my Einstein piggy is what I called him. So I wanted to do this because the next two slides you're going to want to keep. These are kind of my practical lessons that I've learned and over the
Okay,
last 7.5 years in the vacation rental industry dealing with the channel managers and syncs and things like that.
okay.
So number one here, okay, if you have a small portfolio or a limited staff, and I had mentioned this earlier, staying on a limited sync might be the smarter route. It gives you more control over the listings themselves. And so you'll be able to manually manage the fields that matter most for rankings, things like amenities, check-in details, captions, neighborhood information. And these areas are the most PMS or channel managers don't fill out completely. And they're actually what helps listings perform better in OTA algorithms. So it might take more manual work up front, but if you only have a few dozen properties, the attention to detail really pays off. So you're not just optimizing, you're kind of making each listing stand out among thousands of others. Now, the flip side is if you have a large portfolio, efficiency has to come first. That's where a full sync comes in. So full sync allows you to push the data you already have in your PMS or channel manager directly to the OTA. So you can update hundreds of listings in one go, but the trade-off is that you lose some of that fine-tuned control and not every field gets filled in. And that's
Oh,
okay as long
wow.
as you're aware of the gaps. Um, so
But then
yeah,
as
I
you're
mean,
talking, like as you're saying, to fill in those gaps, they may have to be manually filled in. So then therefore
yeah,
you're going back to the stress on your team, the time, the attention.
yeah.
So it's really, it sounds like it might be a time saver, but if there's a gap, then you're now putting more time and attention to it to fill that gap.
Well, exactly. In full sync, even if you say you did go in and you typed in a missing field, well, the second that sync redoes itself overnight, 4 o'clock in the morning, it erases all that. So, yeah, I know. Full sync is not basically full sync keeps you from being able to edit directly within the platform. You have to edit wherever that information is being pushed to. So in your PMS or
Your
channel
PMS.
manager.
Okay.
Yeah. Just depends on the connection, but yeah. So, um, another thing that most people don't really do is they don't lean on their partners. So if you're working with a channel manager, or with your PMS for your direct API connection, um, you know, lean on them a little bit to expand that AP, like what they're pushing and pulling and gathering. They are trying to keep up with all the fields and all the changes from OTAs. And so have regular check-ins with them and talk about updates to their API connections. Sometimes they'll release improvements that push more data fields to OTAs automatically, and they won't even announce it widely. So the more you know about those capabilities, the better efficient your syncs will be.
Good stuff.
Yeah. All right. So some of my daily habits. One of the first things that I learned was to check my API connections every single morning. I know that sounds tedious, but it quickly became second nature. Channel managers or PMS systems, they often have an alert center or an error log that will flag sync problems, missing photos, price mismatches. But if you can catch them early, it'll save you, a lot of time later. And some of the biggest clues don't even come from the PMS. Sometimes Airbnb will just pause the listing completely, and that's your first sign that something's off. So that daily check-in became my insurance policy, and it gave me peace of mind before diving into the rest of the day's work. Next, I scheduled quarterly meetings, which I had mentioned before, with our channel manager and OTA reps. And then I also made it a habit to subscribe to the OTA newsletters, blogs, and partner updates. And then networking. I learned some of my best insights from casual conversations or with others in the industry. Like, for example, I found out like a major VRBO API update, but not from my channel manager. I was in a meeting with Key Data and they mentioned it in a partner call. So just weird places that you would never expect to get critical information. Just keep those relationships going. It's really important. And then a little trick is to kind of push direct bookings from the platforms. There are people that actually do want to book direct, but if they find you on Airbnb, they might not know what the company name is. So anywhere that you can add your company name in your property descriptions, if the OTA allows it, some don't, like HVMI or Amex, they don't allow that, but Airbnb often does. And so include your name in the description, and guests can easily search for you on Google later and book direct. It's one of
That's
the
a
most
great
easiest and
tip.
most, yeah,
That's even like a footnote after the property description or something.
yeah,
That's a good tip. So
yeah,
if you have to use OTAs and you're reliant on OTAs, there's a way to kind of use them to your advantage. I'm hearing that you can still
absolutely.
push them directly to your website for that booking. Okay.
And yeah, even places you wouldn't expect to do it, put it in your photo captions, like living room vacation rental by paying, whatever company it is, you can put your name in there and kind of drive some traffic over to your site. So it all adds up to smoother, more predictable workflow. And so these are really good little tips to keep in hand. All right. So after doing all of this, after spending kind of all of my time in Airbnb, again, I managed over 900 listings in there. So it was very time consuming. I I kind of sat back and I'm like, why am I feeding Airbnb's algorithm when I knew that marketing and a new website could really do like what it could really do for the business? And so that's when our marketing team kind of made the shift. Instead of feeding Airbnb, we started feeding our own website. And we stopped reacting and started building something sustainable. Um, so direct bookings ended up winning on every single level, which you can imagine. So you keep more revenue because you're not paying any commissions and your acquisition costs go down. And you also get to own the guest relationship from the first click. So building trust, loyalty, and repeat stays. So when guests book direct, you control the brand experience and the messaging. You also have more chances to upsell services or extras, and that money stays with you. And maybe the most important is you only guest data. That's gold because it lets you market smarter and bring them back for future stays. And so this is what that kind of looks like on the guest side. So from the guest point of view, it comes down to the basics. They want clarity, no surprise fees or confusing policies. They want speed, an easy mobile first booking process, and they want trust. So reviews, badges, and the sense that that you're a real company behind the site. So consistency is the last piece.
Do you think
Guest
that do you think that small vacation rental managers can compete with the OTs, or if they can compete through with using SEO, like
Oh
all the stuff
yeah.
that you and I do on a daily basis? Do you think it is
Oh yeah.
feasible that they can compete just using this really good this SEO advantage that you're talking about?
Yeah, for sure. So I don't think you need to outrank. I mean, you don't need to outrank Airbnb nationwide. You just need to dominate your local searches. So SEO levels the playing field because it's based on relevance and authority, not size. So
Okay.
if you have
Oh,
great local content and your site is fast, mobile friendly, and trustworthy, you can win where it matters most in your market. So, I mean, why compete with Airbnb if you have a vacation rental in North Carolina? You don't want to compete with Airbnb in Alaska. There's no need
Right.
to.
You
So
only need to
you
compete in
absolutely
your,
can.
yeah, you only need to compete in your local market. So great.
Yeah,
Awesome.
absolutely. Yep. Um, and so with that, with the company perspective, um, I mean, direct bookings just make more sense. So staff spends less time babysitting OTA dashboards and fixing sync errors. SEO and content are long-term equity, visibility you actually own instead of renting space from someone else's platform. And the growth is scalable. So every effort that you put into direct marketing compounds over time. So while OTAs just keep scaling their own brand, and it's not just guests who notice, owners do too. So you get you get best of both worlds, guests and future owners. So you're
I,
really growing.
I like this because it's like you're talking about, okay, if you have a direct booking website, put your message on your own billboard, which is your
Yeah.
direct booking website, instead of putting your message on somebody else's billboard that also you're sharing space with 8 million
Yeah.
other people on
I
that
know.
same. So great. Okay, good advice there.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's kind of where marketing magic really comes together. So SEO is what makes you visible. It gets you on the map so potential owners can find you. But once they do, your website is what earns their trust. And owners want to feel confident in who they partner with. And a strong, credible website makes that decision super easy. Visibility gets you noticed. Credibility gets you contacted. And together they drive growth.
So
Um,
you mentioned that owners, potential owners or new owners to their house, to the area, that they could find you through SEO efforts. How does that exactly work?
So it's kind of the same way that what guests do. Owners Google the same way guests do. So they'll type in vacation rental management in whatever location you're in. And if your company appears in the top result with a professional website and a strong reputation, they'll reach out. And in our case, owners literally found us online and SEO kind of drove that those owner leads directly just from showing up higher in the search results.
Great. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's true. It all works the same way, right? So either
Yeah.
you want to find a vacation rental management company to rent from or to one to list your home with.
Yeah.
SEO drives all of that.
And a lot of people don't think about that aspect of growth. I mean, a lot of companies, they do want to, bring on more people, but they don't think of SEO as an option for bringing new owners. They just think guests and booking. So, that is something that, property managers should really think about is the SEO is sure, it's going to get you some bookings, but think about the expanded benefits of that as well with the growth on the other side. So you've got, your B2B and your B2C.
Mhm.
The SEO can really expand for a property management company. So
Nice, good stuff.
yeah. All right. So I started focusing pretty heavily on SEO. But that kind of, great traffic doesn't always mean great bookings. So improving our website's user experience, clarity, speed, trust, consistency, those elements turned visitors into actual guests. Um, and when we rebuilt our site, this is something that happened 5 years ago. And first impressions really mattered then just as much as they do now. And simple things like having search at the top and professional photos, not AI generated images on your homepage slider, but professional photos made a huge impact. And guests shouldn't have to hunt for what they need. So the site should just guide them naturally. And once we had the design right, the next challenge was building trust, right? So design, then trust. All right. So you got your trust signals. So showing reviews and keeping content fresh and being upfront about all-in pricing made our site feel reliable. Transparency really does turn browsers into bookers.
Mhm.
So here's a few things. This is an ICND site where it's got your total price. Having these badges on the site as well. That always is very good. So trust signals, super
Yeah.
great to have.
And not to toot my own horn, but I've done many webinars about trust signals and how to get your own website, having those trust signals and those badges and all those reviews and of it. So we will link other videos that go a little bit more in depth to what you were just talking about as well. So if you are interested in learning more, we'll link up some other videos of other talks that we've done in the past with more in depth on how to get those trust signals to work for you.
Yeah, these and on top of the trust signals, these are features that, oh my gosh, I wish we had this when we were building out the website so many years ago. Like back then, if a guest hit a dead end on a search and they searched dates that weren't available, we probably lost them. But tools like suggested searches and interactive calendars make that experience smoother and keep guests exploring. So also, that remind me to book feature. I mean, that would have been a lifesaver because
Mhm.
not every guest books right away, but giving them an easy way to come back makes all the difference. So those items, these tools are just absolutely incredible with the innovations that the industry is doing on websites is it's absolutely incredible.
And all these tools that you had just mentioned, suggestive search, the interactive calendars, the remind me to book, I'll even throw in cart abandonment in there as well. Those are all first to market features that ICND developed and pushed into our industry first, above any of our other agencies out there. So I do have to take a minute to brag, but those are definitely
Yeah.
important for vacation rental managers to have on their sites. But we did develop them and push them out to the market first. So. Oh, there it
Yeah,
is. Car
and
abandonment. I just said car abandonment. There you
yes,
go.
yeah, yeah. We have a few more because one of the things that when we were improving like our booking process, we did implement cart abandonment emails, and they made almost an immediate impact. So that was one thing that we did have access to, and it did fantastic, and it still does fantastic today. But we didn't have the price alerts or the upsell automations. Those are the kind of advancements that make such a difference. And the fact that you can automatically re-engage guests or like offer upsells without extra work, that's just huge. And these are kind of tools that every property manager should be taking advantage of now.
These are just the
Y-
basics. If you're going to run
they,
a website,
yes,
you need to have these six on there. And if you've been following
absolutely.
along ICND for a while now, you've attended our previous webinars, we definitely have done some previous deeper dives into the actual data of how cart abandonment can improve your bookings that may have potentially been lost. We've done deeper dives into the upsell automation and how much additional revenue that you can gain during the slower times of your year using the upsell automation. So again, we'll link those previous webinars in the description of this video. So if you want to do some more one-on-one education, or if you want to do some deeper research on your own, we'll have those available for you too.
Yeah. So finally, the direct booking playbook. So if you're ready to do like grow direct bookings, this is exactly where I'd start. I'd begin by evaluating how dependent you are on OTAs. That awareness alone is powerful. So then you want to set a real goal for website growth and make sure your site supports it with a great design and booking tools. And from there, focus on SEO and automation so your site starts working for you around the clock. And don't forget remarketing. So staying in front of people through email and ads is what keeps the momentum going. So once
Hmm.
you start treating your website as your most valuable sales channel, everything else kind of starts to align.
And that's everything you mentioned are things that we do here, at ICND all the time. We're always talking about remarketing using our
Yeah.
great email marketing service. So everything that you just mentioned, these are all things that as an agency we can help with you, whether you have a small team or a big team, we can be a great supplement to what you have already going on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we do it very in depth. And that was something, going from the property manager side and seeing how in depth IC&D really goes into these is quite incredible. And it's been very eye-opening. It's been, yeah, IC&D does a very good job at what they do for
There's a
sure.
lot going on under the surface.
There's so much, yes, so
Then,
much, but
yeah,
in a it's an industry changing way that IC&D functions.
yeah,
So,
definitely. Very cool, very cool.
yeah.
So hold on. I did think of a question while we were just kind of chatting there for a second. If someone is just starting to focus on direct bookings, like really we understand the OTAs may get you seen, you're going to get some visibility, but when you start to make the push, or in your situation, you made a purposeful thought change and saying, I'm going to treat my direct booking website as my number one generator, my big engine
Yeah.
behind the bookings. If you're just starting to focus on that, what could be an easy first step for someone to get involved with that?
So I would start by getting visibility into your data. So know your OTA percentage, your website conversion rate,
Okay.
your average commission costs. And once you see that clearly, set a small goal like shifting 10% of bookings from OTA over to your site. And then focus on SEO, improving your website experience and adding automation tools. Because small wins add up fast when you control the traffic. So start small, do small, small goals for yourself and make those little changes and see if you can get to that small goal.
I think that's good. I mean, we talk a lot about snackable goals and snackable items. So, um, if you set your goal, if you just want to move 10% of your bookings off that OTA platform, whichever one it is that you're using or whatever collection of ones that you're using, if your goal for that quarter or for 6 months is to move 10% over, I think that's a achievable goal. Instead of saying
Yeah.
I want to move 50% of my bookings from the online, that could be a little harder at first, especially if you have a
Yeah.
small team in house or you haven't really started yet with an agency. So yeah, I think small, snackable, bite-sized goals is a good way to start out, and then you can actually measure them. It's easier to
Yeah.
measure those smaller goals, but you're right, small goals stack up really fast, and then before you know it, you have a big movement, and hopefully at the end of the day, you've moved the majority of your bookings off of that OTA, so you can be less dependent on them and you have more independence yourself as a vacation rental marketing company.
Yeah, you do have to make sure that you're ready to take that on. And so that's why it's kind of start small because if you don't have the team to do it, sometimes it actually it can get you can all of a sudden start getting more direct bookings than you've ever seen before by accident almost.
That's a good
Like
problem to have.
it is. It absolutely is. But you do have to kind of have a mindset of this is what I'm going to do, this is how I'm going to achieve it, and you start just, get, chipping away at it. And
Hmm.
eventually everything just starts shifting and you finally one day realize you made that change and your direct bookings are so high. And honestly, one of the things um is when you're not so reliant on those channels, being able to tell that to your owners as well, that alone is a trust signal, for your owners. So it all works out great. If you start slow, you'll be able to kind of grow your site and build your site and build it up where it's manageable.
And upgrade your site in time and get more
Yes,
properties in your portfolio and all those
yes,
things that come with it. Because I think
because
you're right on the right track where, it's like building those trust signals not only on your website, but building the trust with your homeowners and um, your local businesses as well.
yeah.
We talk about the referrals a lot too, and it's like somebody comes into the area and says, "Hey, I'm renting a home over here," and maybe you're out on a boat, you're taking a charter boat or a dolphin tour or what have you, and the person's like, "Oh, did you get your home through, you know, insert company name?" That's all that local trust and the trust signals on their website all kind of collectively come together to educate guests that might have only found you on
Absolutely.
through an OTA. Cool, good
And,
stuff.
with Airbnb and booking, you don't get their email address either. So, sending those marketing emails out and the things to get them back to your site, getting them to your site is critically important. So,
Yeah,
yep.
definitely. Definitely.
So,
I did have one more question for you today, if you have another minute or so.
of course.
We talk a lot about, OTAs being maybe the first way somebody finds you and then they come visit with you. When you have a guest for the first time staying, within one of your properties, what are some of your tips and tricks to let them know how to come back and book again the next year, but directly?
So, I have always been big. I think that instant branding whenever you walk in to a property, whether that's a magnet, or even you walk in and there's a doormat that says your company name on it. Keeping your brand in front of them during their vacation is critically important, in my opinion. You if you say you go on vacation, when you walk through that door, your mind is set vacation mode. You're not thinking, who did I book with? You've
How did I
already
get
paid.
here?
Yeah, you've already done all that hard part. So you don't want to think about it again, right? So critically important. I think that having your brand inside the vacation rental, somewhere for them to see, even if you can afford to get little swag gifts or, something for them to take back home, just so that you're in front of them during their vacation, and making sure that they're aware that they can reach out, keeping that line of communication open and your brand in front of them is good for getting rid of that repeat business.
That's good because, OTAs have their place,
Yeah.
for that initial introduction, but then once they come, they stay in the home, they have a great time, they're in that vacation mode, then it's really that's the time for the local vacation rental manager to come in and start with those subtle branding hints
Yes.
around the property, whether it's the outside sign, like you said, a
Hmm.
doormat, a magnet, a letter, what have you. That's their time to shine, and that's the way that they
Yeah.
can really get their message across for
Yep.
that book direct, so that when they fall in love with the area and they want to come back again and again, they have somewhere to go where the locals are there and they can give that local advice, as part of the booking process, instead of just using a big giant machine, like a corporate machine.
Yes.
That you're,
Yeah.
again, I keep going back to that 8 million number that you shared with us at the beginning, but that's incredible. So yeah.
It's incredible for how Airbnb started for them to have 8 million listings. Is their story is quite interesting on how they started.
Wow.
Just Google it. It's a good
Yeah.
story.
Well, don't Google it yet. Watch the whole video here and
Yeah.
check out ICND before you go Google it. But cool.
Yes.
All right, Holly. Anything else this afternoon you want to share with us? I mean, everything is wow. I mean, amazing so far. But what else you got to share? Anything?
Nope. I mean, that's pretty much it. That's the wrap up. I mean, it believe it or not takes less work to deal with the website and SEO than it does to deal with the syncs and the headaches
Hmm. And
from, channel managers and everything. So I just highly recommend, if you can, reach out to us, reach out to ICND, and let us help you out, because it'll
yeah,
go a long way.
let us build you a new site, or let us upgrade your site, or let us get
Yeah,
you some of those cool modules and features that we also touched on earlier as well.
absolutely.
Well, if you're watching this webinar and you have some more questions for Holly, you want to pick her brain, you want to get her opinion on something, maybe you were trying something and you want to try something else, we will certainly send out her contact information and you can talk with her directly. You could also, if you're a current client, you can reach out to your client success manager, or somebody in our support department if you need something as well. As always, our inboxes are always open here at ICND. So if you have a question about marketing, you can reach out to either myself or Holly or anyone on our marketing team. We're always here for you if you are a current client, and if you're interested in becoming a new client, we can certainly set you up for a demo, to go over all those book direct tools and features that Holly touched on. And we can get you set up with someone in our great sales department as well that can walk you through a demo and answer all of your questions if you're interested in becoming a client. So, Holly, thank you so much for sharing all of your
Yeah,
knowledge. I love spending this time with you today, and we will see you on the next one.
sounds good.
All
Thank
right. Thanks,
you.
everyone. Bye bye.